Hello, adventurers. It is Sunday morning. We're doing a little bit of a late stream. I'm on alone today. I'm Dungeon Master Roy of Dark Alchemy. And today I just want to go over some breaking news for Dungeons & Dragons and talk about the Star Spawn in Cthulhu by Torchlight. In our own adventures in the world of Erendor at Mire's End, our adventurers are fighting some cultists which are trying to summon a greater evil. It's not necessarily Cthulhu or a Star Spawn, but I wanted just to talk about the actual character, monster, the cultist, the Star Spawn, and also maybe compare the Star Spawn to the Dungeons and Dragons version to the Call of Cthulhu version. But first, we have some breaking news.
Breaking news.
So, the director of the God of War 3 and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order just launched a new studio called Giant Skull, and their first project will be an action-adventure Dungeons & Dragons video game, single-player, cinematic, meant to feel like it's the source material. The Dragon Thieves anthology has dropped 192 pages with 10 dragon-themed adventures, levels 1 to 12. It's been out a little while now. Perfect for one-shots or just adding to the campaign. It is Dungeons & Dragons, so why not put some actual dragons in your adventure? New Forgotten Realms book is coming out in November, The Heroes of Faerun. It includes new player options, subclasses, and lore. The Adventures in Faerun is the D&D Dungeon Master's Guide adventure and setting material. There's a special edition included in the DLC content, Astarion's A Book of Hungers, with the vampire content written based on the character in Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 4 is confirmed. Larian's not making it. Wizards of the Coast says it'll be developed by a different unnamed studio. 2 years later, Larian is still doing updates for Baldur's Gate 3. They're working on 2 new role-playing games, one codenamed Excalibur with the Legend of Arthur vibes, and also they have another bug fix for Baldur's Gate 3. 32 bugs were fixed. Let's talk about the Star Spawn. These look like the actual Cthulhu, but they are monsters within the game itself. They're a little bit smaller. H.P. Lovecraft is the author of Cosmic Horror. It was in the 1920s or maybe even earlier. I think it was the 20s. And that is now public license, so any person can use the source material to make their own board games, stories. For years, the studio Chaosium has had the license for Cthulhu, but now anybody can, I believe, play with that. Double check with your legal representation. They all lay in stone houses in their great city of Rylith, preserved by spells of the mighty Cthulhu for a glorious resurrection, when the stars in the earth might once again more be ready. H.P. Lovecraft. These gigantic octopoid beings represent tiny versions of Cthulhu itself, yet their smaller stature still towers well over mortal creatures. Not all the inhabitants of Rylith are trapped in its watery angles when it sank. Some still live in deep trenches beneath the ocean, where they're tended to by deep ones. They are avatars of doom. The Star Spawn serve Cthulhu's agents in the world. They venture forth from ocean depths, where they are called by the cult of Cthulhu, protecting the cult from its enemies and lending the mythos lore needed to exact the cult's aims. Invariably, one of these horrors appear. Cthulhu cult is on the rise in the region. So in Mire's End, in my world, it's not going to be a Cthulhu cult. It's going to be another Chthonian creature yet to be named. I don't want to give away any spoilers in case any of my players are watching. Scattered prisoners. When Cthulhu was trapped within Rylith, the Starspawn were scattered across the world. Many of them also sealed within prisons, sometimes by heroic adventurers. These Starspawn struggle against their bonds. If freed, they bear no sympathy or debt to their helpers. One never knows when a sealed chamber deep within an ancient dungeon might contain vast riches or a patient Starspawn waiting. So that'd actually be a cool little plot hook to have a Starspawn. Horrid inspiration. Human Humans living within the area of the entombed and sleeping starspawn may be subject to its psychic residue, a form of dreaming. A form of dream sending that can speak to susceptible subjects. Much like Cthulhu itself, the starspawn seeks to create a subtle but relentless change in a person's behavior, compelling the victim to seek lore regarding Cthulhu and work to free both the starspawn and its master. A Cthulhu cult might arise when an ambitious and morally flexible person receives these dreams and decides to follow them to their terrible conclusion. Now, I don't know if that translates into gameplay. That's something more the dungeon master would have to create. Maybe a village is taken over. We had a campaign where Dungeon Master Evanson had all the villages taken over by Naga. Naga had a form of mind control. So it's very similar. The starspawn will send out the dream sendings and take over your villages, and your adventures would have to investigate that. So a lesser starspawn of Cthulhu, there are two types, lesser and greater. The lesser starspawn is a little bit easier to fight. I think that in a new monster manual, the designers of Wizards of the Coast decided to make multi-level creatures. So they have the same creature appear 2 or 3 times. Vampires are a perfect example where they'll have like a lesser vampire, vampire thrall, a greater vampire. This way, no matter what level your characters are, you can actually fight the vampire on that level. You're not sending a 3rd level character against a greater vampire, but you might fight a vampire thrall. Same thing with the starspawns. There are 2 levels, although, I mean, they're still pretty brutal. It's a large aberration. It's a mythos creature, which gives them some special abilities like the magic resistance. Has an armor class of 15. -1 initiative. They are a little bit slow. You probably get the jump on them. 153 hit points average. You can go much higher. 18 dice 10 plus 54, so that's 180 plus 54 maximum. Some dungeon masters might want to max that out. Strength 20, so it has a great strength save. Low dex save, -1, so hit it with spells that it's going to affect dexterity. Constitution 17 plus 6 save. Intelligence 15 plus 2 save. Wisdom 12 plus 4 save. It's pretty decent, plus 4 save on the wisdom. Charisma plus 0. I always think it's so funny about these creatures. They speak common plus 1d4 other languages. This creature has an intelligence of 15, fairly intelligent. It can also talk to you. Most of the time you come across this creature, you might just attack. But as a dungeon master, talk to the players in their language. Try to convince them that, this might be good to summon Cthulhu. This might actually help you. Some of the skills: arcane plus 5, history plus 5, intimidation plus 3, perception plus 4. Immune to poison, blinded, charmed, frightened, and poison condition. Dark vision 120 feet, passive perception 14, not too bad. Most of the thieves to stealth need a 15 minimum roll, so I hope these rogues are able to hide from them. It's a CR6. We can talk about CR another time. They're amphibious, so they can breathe air and water. I think they're also star spawns. I would let them even breathe. I honestly would let them breathe in a vacuum. I would say they can survive in any condition, even if you were to suck the air out of a room. They are star spawn from space. Magic resistance. The lesser star spawn has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. Pretty standard for a mythos creature. Multi-attack, 2 crushing fist attacks, plus 8 to hit. Pretty good. The reach hurts. A 15-foot reach is pretty damaging. No matter where it lands, it's going to be able to hit you if it's close enough. I did skip its speed. A speed of 60 is pretty fast. All the Cthulhu creatures have a fairly decent speed. A base speed of 60. A fly of 40 is going to be able to keep up with most regular adventurers for the most part, except maybe a monk or somebody using a long strider spell. Swim speed of 60. So if it's in the water, you're not necessarily getting away. You might even be worse off. Go back to its attacks. It has a crushing fist, 2 attacks, plus 8 to hit, 22 average damage, 3d10 plus 5 bludgeoning. It's a lot. Spellcasting. The lesser star spawn of Cthulhu cast one of the following spells, requiring no material components and using its ability intelligence as a spellcasting modifier. DC 13, so not super high. It's not doing a ton of spellcasting. It's going to dispel magic, so if you have a spell up, it'll be able to drop it. Fear and suggestion is going to work in maybe with when it starts to talk to you. Some suggestions, maybe give you an advantage on intimidation. Misty Step, just a movement spell, maybe to escape a grapple, although it does have that 20 strength. Shatter, kind of a random one. It's affecting structures. I don't know why they put Shatter in there. Maybe because they're trapped in the city of Rylith and they're trying to escape and kind of destroy parts of the structure. It has one legendary action, which is basically a recharged at the start of its turn. That's going to go at the end of another player's action. It can make a one crushing fist attack with its flabby claws. It can use Eldritch Contradictions, which lets it do the spell casting. So you can save your multi-attack to punch and then use the legendary action to cast a spell, probably Dispel Magic or Shatter, maybe Misty Step. And it can also do Ravening for Delight. So it can move up to its speed. In action, it can run 20. Now, before we go to the Greatest Starspawn, which is just a bigger version of it, I did want to share with you. Let's remove this from the stage. And I did want to share with you the actual Starspawn from the Call of Cthulhu game. I'm a big fan of the Call of Cthulhu game. We are focusing, however, mostly on Dungeons and Dragons on his channel, or all on Dungeons and Dragons. But I'm still a fan. So let's look at the Starspawn. I wonder if they use the same quote. Did they use the same quote? They did not. So the quote that they put in the H.P. Lovecraft quote that they put in the Keeper's Guide for Call of Cthulhu was, "They all lay in stone houses in the great city of Rylith." Oh, they are. They are the same quote. They took the same quote. "Preserved by the spells of the mighty Cthulhu for a glorious resurrection, for when the stars of the earth might once more be ready." Wow. Okay, so the person who made the D&D character played Call of Cthulhu, or at least they use it as a source material. Did they use the same description? "These gigantic octopoid beings resemble Cthulhu himself, yet are smaller in stature. Not all the inhabitants of Rylith were trapped within the watery angles when it sank." They copied it right out of the book. "Still some live in the deep trenches beneath the ocean, where they are tended to by deep ones. Related entities also dwell in stars." Okay, though this is different. "Related entities also dwell in stars, such as the being said to infest the lake of Hala on the planet near the star Alderon in Taurus." Okay, so we added that. Or they took that out in D&D. So the other people just copied it. I guess it's all fair game now. It's open source. In Call of Cthulhu, the Starspawn is not lesser or greater, just a Starspawn. They know 3 dice 6 spells, 3 6 spells, minimum 3, maximum 18. Spells in Call of Cthulhu are pretty brutal. Characters in the Call of Cthulhu game average 8 to 14 hit points, 10 to 12 average. So some of these spells will do 10 to 20 points damage. They just disintegrate. You're just paced. There are some spells of Cthulhu, like a magic armor, which will give you 5 points of armor, which reduces damage. But I mean, Call of Cthulhu is brutal. You are not Dungeons and Dragon heroes in Call of Cthulhu. The Starspawn of Cthulhu, or the Satraps of the Sleeper, they have a strength of 350 in the Call of Cthulhu. That's a huge strength. It's mortals can go up to 100. The Dead Professor is on here. He's watching me here. Mike Merrills, who wrote it, was working for Chaosium at the time he wrote the book. Okay, so that's interesting. So Mike Merrills was working for Chaosium, and he was writing the D&D book. So he had access to both and very, very familiar with the source material. That is a good pro tip. Thank you, Professor. I appreciate that. Constitution of 260, size of 525. Again, maximum human size is 100. So these are big creatures. Dex of 50, which is actually. Oh, okay. The book is published by Chaosium. Oh, you're right. So it's just hosted on D&D Beyond. Okay, the Professor, who is not on today, is giving me some great information and lore. So let's take a step back. Mike Merrills wrote it, was working for Chaosium at the time he wrote the book. The book is published by Chaosium, and it is just hosted on D&D Beyond. So this is a Chaosium book that was translated for 5e Dungeons & Dragons, assuming that not everybody who plays Call of Cthulhu wants to play Call of Cthulhu, but they want to play Dungeons & Dragons. So we're bringing the Call of Cthulhu Chaosium world into D&D, assuming that these people might not play both games. So you can have the Chaosium Call of Cthulhu flavor in your D&D world. So that explains it. So I guess it's not stealing. It's just, he wrote the direct source material. Dex of 50 in Cthulhu, that's pretty low. So your characters will probably be going first. Hopefully they'll run away. Intelligence and power of 105. Power in Cthulhu is like your spellcasting ability. 78 hit points in Call of Cthulhu is pretty high. The average human has about 10. Damage bonus, the average damage bonus is 10 dice 6. So if you drop all ones, you're still doing 10 points of damage. Most characters in Cthulhu have 10 points. So you're getting pasted. Average build of 11, that's kind of weird because the size is 525 and the build's 11. It doesn't really mesh, but they are bigger than humans. Magic points 21, more than enough magic points to do some good attacks. Move and swim at 15. It's actually faster than the human. This has 4 attacks per round. It uses tentacles or claws to attack with. It has a fighting 80% chance, so that's, on a D20, that's going to be it's going to miss 20% of the time. So that's a 1 to 4 will miss basically. And it's an opposed system. It doesn't dodge very well. 26. 10 points of armor is a ton of armor. Hide and blubber. Regenerates 3 hit points around is crazy. Now the big thing in Cthulhu is sanity loss. 1d6. If you pass the sanity check, 1d20 if you lose it. That's enough to drive most people crazy. In the D&D version, they kind of changed it to give you forget the terminology they used, but you're going to be able to have like kind of I have to roll a d20 and decide if you're going to follow like this new path or kind of fight against it. The professor is chiming in again. For us really old timers, all these creatures were in the first edition of Deities Demigods. Without the rights, it was later removed. And that edition of Deities and Demigods, which I have a version of it, but I do not have the Cthulhu version of it. That book is worth, I think, a ton of money because, again, it's one of those rare books where they were in there and they were removed. The original Deities Demigods they were just pulling from everywhere, all the different lores, Arthurian legends, Michael Morlock's, series. They had Egyptian and they had Greek and, Zeus and Odin and all this different stuff before they kind of made their own pantheon of gods. D&D was finding its way at the time. Sliding back to the greater Starspawn of Cthulhu. This is just going to be a updated version. So the greatest Starspawn, we'll just go over what's changed. 18 armor class higher, +1 initiative, a little bit better. Hit points have gone up 525, and it has a much higher max. 24 D12 +96. Movement is bigger. Base move 80, super dangerous for his characters. A flying 60, swim a 60. Strength went up a little bit, +11 save on strength, +9 on constitution. Wisdom save went up. That's big because a lot of the damaging spells are wisdom saves, right? +7 wisdom save. Arcane, +9, history +9, intimidation +6, perception +7 with a passive perception of 17. So it's getting a little bit better with that. A little tougher to hide from. Again, it has intelligence 18. That's wizard kind of super intelligence level. So what is the Starspawn saying to you? How is it going to communicate to you? I don't have the answer to that, but I think it leaves a lot of good role-playing opportunities, which as a dungeon master, as a game master, I'm trying to really, think what the monsters would do. This monster wants to affect people's motivations, affect their dreams in order to release Cthulhu from Rylith. He wants to create cults to summon and worship. So not necessarily squish all the adventurers. How could you affect that? You really have to think about that, where, some of the Cthulhu gods are a little more random. If they show up, they're just killing everything. Cthulhu's killing everything too. If you haven't seen it, it's a great game called Cthulhu Wars. It's a board game where the Earth is actually already taken over by the old ones, the elder things, the outer gods, the cosmic gods, and they're fighting it out. And you can learn a lot more about them. So this guy's still amphibious. He can breathe air and water again. I say they come from the stars. They can breathe in space. They have advantage on saving throws and other magical effects. That's part of their mythos ability. He's a huge aberration, which is going to affect grappling. Again, 2 crushing fist attacks, but this time 20-foot reach, average of 28 damage, +11 to hit. It's a lot. And 4 dice 10 +6 bludgeoning. So up to 46 points bludgeoning damage. That's almost 100 points around getting punched. Spell casting, he has all the same spells, but they added a once per day. Cone of Cold. I don't know how I feel about that. He shoots out of his tentacles some cold. Force Cage, Hold Monster, and Wall of Force. So Force Cage, Wall of Force, Hold Monster. I guess you can kind of picture he has some sort of cosmic energy where he's using like force fields and force to hold creatures and create walls and kind of shape and bend reality. I like that. We up it to 2 legendary actions. Immediately after another creature's turn, the greatest star spawn of Cthulhu can expend to make one of the following actions. Again, and they're the same, but he's going to be able to do it twice. A crushing fist attack. So that's going to be by the time the star spawn goes and all the adventure goes, assuming a party of 4. So maybe we'll do 4 punches, closing in on 200 points of damage, likely to hit if he rolls well. He can use a spell. I think that's more likely. I would probably save his basic attacks to punch, and then I'd be casting spells in between after other characters. See where they move around. Maybe throw up a wall of force. Hold monster against player characters. I mean, if the characters, bring a monster, maybe, or if he was somehow fighting another monster, popped up. That's kind of cool. And lastly, he can move up to a speed. And again, his speed now is 80. So if he's on one side of the board and he decides to run, I would take opportunity attack. Armor class 18, 252 hit points. I would take opportunity attacks. I would run him 80 feet and try to squish the mage. I would fly him 60 feet or jump him in the water and then have him do an attack. Well, he could do his move and then he have to wait for the next time to use the action to attack or to reposition himself. So that's the Star Spawn of Cthulhu. That's kind of all we have for the Star Spawns. They don't actually have the Great Cthulhu himself. Let's see. Oh, we have the Great Cthulhu. I got a few minutes here before I have to do my errands for the day. So let's talk about the Great Cthulhu himself. This is God level. And, I guess in the world, you wouldn't be able to kill him. You'd have to basically, kind of destroy him and he'd probably reform. I think in the Cthulhu game, he reforms after 1d100 years if you destroy him. So he will come back within 100 years. I mean, next year could be, a long time when it's, future Dungeon Master Roy's problem. So, the Great Cthulhu. A monster of vaguely anthropomorphic outline, but with an octopus-like head, whose face was a mass of feelers, scaly, rubbery-looking body, prodigious claws on its hind 4 feet, and long, narrow wings behind him. This thing was a somewhat bloated corpulence. It lumbered slobbering into sight and groping, squeezing its gelatinous green immensity through a black doorway. A mountain walked or stumbled. So a buddy of mine, Chris, has this miniature for a Kickstarter, and it is literally 3 feet tall, and it's supposed to be in proportion to the adventurers. So maybe I could borrow it one day for a game. Your minis are about this big, and this thing is, just like 3 feet tall. It's actually nuts. Cthulhu dwells in the corpse city of Black Rylith, sunken deep beneath the surface of the ocean. He is living death while there, but someday the city will rise, and he will wake, free to roam and slay across the world. In the city is also entombed other members of the Cthulhu species. Cthulhu is evidently the high priest and ruler of them all, and is by far the most potent. A fitful slumber. Cthulhu's cultists are often drawn to his worship by strange dreams triggered by his stirrings within Rylith. As ages pass and the stars shift in the sky, Cthulhu shifts from a slumbering to fitful dreaming. In later state, his dreams echo across the world and coalesce in frightful visions that plague those with a gift for psychic or magical ability. Most folks pass these dreams off as recurring nightmares, but a few comprehend their true source of these visions. These poor folk become obsessed with Cthulhu and dedicate themselves to prepare the world for Cthulhu's rise. They congregate in secret rituals, helping Cthulhu's power grow and grow him closer to awakening. The cult of Cthulhu is dangerous because it's splintered and disorganized. They arise all in cultures among sentient humanoids. They share only their secrecy and their fanatic dedication to the following bizarre rituals revealed to them in their dreams. Fighting the cult is like trying to stomp out a forest fire. You might douse one as an ember, but as you extinguish one, three more take root into flame. So again, this is going in with the whole cult thing. There are actually cultists in the monster manual. I think I have one of them up. I'll pull up a cultist. And, these cultists are doing their rituals, and that can be a big part of the adventure. In ours, they're going to a sunken church where they think this cult has some magical items to summon their Cthulhu god or their elder god. And that's a great point for a DM to kind of, have an investigation, a mystery, and then do the PCs sneak in? Did they do a direct assault? Did they call for reinforcements? How do they handle that? Part of that planning has a very Shadowrun feel to it, where you have to decide what you're going to do. Okay, so let's go over to Great Cthulhu. He is a beast. I think this is an end game CR 30. That's like an end game type of character. It's probably one of the highest ones, if not the highest one, up with the Ancient Ren dragons and the Tarisk, I think it's pronounced. That's the huge kind of kaiju beast. And I guess this guy would be considered a kaiju. It's a gargantuan aberration, a mythos deity, so it's a god. Chaotic evil, 24 armor class, hard to hit, plus 11 initiative. It's probably going first. 779 hit points, could be more. Move 60, fly 120, swim 60. So you're not getting away. He's going to fly up and just eat you. Strength 30 with a plus 19 strength save. It's crazy. Dex 15 plus 11. His actually weakest stat is dexterity. Constitution plus 19 at a 30. Intelligence 22 plus 15 save. Wisdom 26 plus 17 save. Charisma 17 plus 12 save. Plus 15 Arcana, plus 15 History, plus 17 Insight, plus 17 Perception with a passive perception of 27. He's probably seeing you, and he also has Blind Sight 60 feet, Dark Vision 120. So if you're within 60 feet, even if you're invisible, he's going to see you or know you're there. Traits. Even death may die. When Cthulhu drops to 0 hit points, it will be killed outright. It instead transforms into a green cloud of mist that fills the space. At the start of each of the Great Cthulhu's turns, it gains 1 recovery point that cannot otherwise use any actions or legendary actions other than Relentless Horror. When it gains its 4th recovery point, its maximum hit points return to normal if they had been reduced, and it regains all lost hit points. It reforms its physical body in a space of its choice within 10 miles of its location, and then loses all recovery points. So you kill it, it still can come back. So basically, on the next part of this, it's saying you have 4 rounds, four in-game initiative rounds to do the following. If the Great Cthulhu target is a target of a banishment spell while in cloud form and cast with a 9th level spell slot, it automatically fails its saving throw and is instead sent to Rylith, where it slumbers for 10 D10 years. So we're back at it. So it's gonna go nighty night if you hit with the 9th level banishment, and that tracks with the original Call of Cthulhu book by Chaosium. Again, I'm not sure the exact number, but when he did something, it would disappear for up to 100 years. Another trait, the Horrid Aura. A non-mythos entity starts its turn within 30 feet of Cthulhu, takes 10 psychic damage. So, all right, 10 psychic, 10 psychic, 10 psychic. Even a 20th level character is going to start adding up. 6 legendary resistances a day. That's ridiculous. I've always seen the number 3. 3 legendary, maybe 4 legendary, 6. That's a lot to get through. Multi-attack. The Great Cthulhu makes 6 crushing claw attacks. Plus 19 to hit. I mean, I don't know. It's rarely missing, right? It's missing on a 1, 2, or 3, maybe. Maybe on a 4 if you have a super high armor class. I'm not sure what the highest armor class a player character could have. I didn't do the math on that. 25-foot reach, so it's on the board, and it's gargantuan. I'm not even sure what the base size of that would be, but it would take up a lot of space. So it's going to do 28 average. That's 4d8 plus 10 bludgeoning, and the target is either knocked prone or move 20 feet straight back. So it's going to knock you back or knock you prone. Another attack, and this is a recharge on a 5 or 6, so it's like a breath weapon. Apocalyptic Majesty. A wisdom saving throw at DC 23. Creatures of the Great Cthulhu's choice that it can see or hear within 500 feet. So basically, everybody can see and hear if it decides to. I guess you can maybe choose that one guy you think is going to be the next cultist leader, and not damage him. It has to take a saving throw. On the first failure, they take 110. That's so stupid. That's so stupid. They take 110 psychic damage. That's it could even be more. It's the 20d10 psychic damage, and is frightened of the Great Cthulhu until the end of his next turn when it repeats its save. So on the next turn, if they fail again, then they are controlled by Cthulhu. So if you survive the 110 point psychic damage hit, and you don't run far enough away, on the next turn, Cthulhu controls you until the end of that turn. So, and then it probably starts the game all over. It has 3 legendary actions, so an average number or the highest number for a creature of this type. They didn't go crazy and give it more legendary actions. 3 is a lot. Immediately after another creature's turn, the Great Cthulhu can expend a legendary action to do one of the following. It regains it at the start of its turn. The disdainful swipe. 2 crushing claw attacks, so it's punching you twice, plus 19 hit, 25-foot reach, knock you prone, knock you back. Or it can do Relentless Horror, which we talked about, which it'll still be able to do in its mist form. Relentless Horror, recharge a 5 or 6. Choose one of the following. It teleports 200 feet to an occupied space. So the mist could teleport too. That's interesting. It immediately ends one spell or condition affecting it. If it's in mist form, I don't think that matters. If it's in regular form, then it's going to end a spell or condition. That's good. And it can also end one spell or magical effect within 120 feet. What would you use that for? Maybe the player characters are casting a spell like Darkness to try to hide an area, even though it has blind sight. I'm not really sure, but it can choose that. But again, it's a recharge on 5 or 6, so maybe it gets it off once and you kind of survive. That's a Great Cthulhu. It's not something I want to fight, or if I were to fight it, how many guys would I need? What would my party size need to be? You definitely need a wizard with a 9th level banishment or a cleric with multiple banishments. Although you only get 1 9th level spell slot, right? So you got to save that. That is the Great Cthulhu. Let's see if we can share one more thing here. I have it up. So the cultist Hierophant, I have not put this cultist in my current game because of the level. It's a CR 10. My characters are all facing lesser cultists, but this is the type of cultist who are a leader, and they actually oversee and dictate the edicts of their cult, interpreting the patron's will. So this is the guy who's going to be guiding everybody to summon Cthulhu. They know the deepest secrets, and they often control strange relics, mystical sites, and monstrous servants. They have a cultist agenda here. I think I briefly touched on this in one other stream. You roll D6, and this is if you're a dungeon master kind of making your own world up, to bring about the end of a dominant order or age, to burn away what's comfortable in reality, expand the faith through control. So I'll talk about Cthulhu, which is to bring about Cthulhu. 16 armor class, plus 8 initiative. It's a medium creature, 144 hit points to kind of really give you something to fight. They know Celestial and Common. You can change that to Abysmal, whatever you need. Stats are pretty good. Strength 14, Dex 18, Con 18, Intelligence 13, Wisdom 16, Charisma 20, plus 9 Charisma save. It's got Perception plus 7, Persuasion plus 9, Religion plus 5, Passive Perception 17. Uses a Packed Blade, 3 multi-attacks. I'll do an average of 12 points slashing plus 18 radiance. You can change it to Necrotic 2. Has a Radiant Ray. It's going to blast you plus 9 to hit 120-foot range, 31 points damage. I would give him more spells. I don't get this. They just give him Thaumaturgy, which is, just a little basic spell where you can alter your eyes, booming voice, fireplay. I guess role-playing wise, if it was giving a sermon, it would be, like his eyes are glowing, it kind of gives that scary feel to the cultist. It gave it a Storm of Radiance, which is a 40-foot high cylinder, 10-foot radius. It blinds people, deafens them, they can't cast spells, so that's going to stop your spellcasters. Mass Suggestion. I mean, this really fits in, level 6 spell. This really fits in with, turning people to your cult. So that's kind of it. This is the cultist. I'm gonna do probably a lesser version of this in my game. So that's it for today, guys. We didn't really have anything planned. I just want to try to keep up with my Sunday morning streams. If you like, subscribe, and all that good stuff, that'd be great. We have some awesome interviews coming up. Alphinius Goo, the owner and lead designer for GUI Games, who runs D&D and has these awesome adventure packs and maps and adventures. We saw him at Gen Con. We have a Kickstarter coming up, not our own Kickstarter. We're doing an interview for Untold Tales. They have a Kickstarter coming up. We're waiting on Damsels and Dames. They're going to send us a little gift box. We sent them a gift box that had a bunch of stuff for their retreat in Maine. Their all-female retreat in Maine. And I'm going to do an unboxing for that. And we also are going to be filming Baldur's Gate, the board game. I'm 3D printing the pieces that are missing out of it. I did a little live saying the pieces were missing. And then we also have a review of our one-shot Wonder adventure. And we're going to have a review of some of the other stuff we bought. The Dead Professor had bought a bunch of stuff at Gen Con. And he has this one box, and it's like a 20-pound box of stuff. So we have that interview. So make sure to follow us, subscribe, and look for upcoming interviews. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and I hope everybody has a chance to play D&D and get their games in this week. Until next time, I hope everybody rolls that 20.